Right now, somewhere in the world, a 2-year-old child is about to tell their first lie. Not a mistake, not confusion, a real, deliberate lie. And scientists say this moment is not a flaw in human development. It is a milestone, a sign that something extraordinary is happening inside that child's brain. Because here is the strange part, lying requires imagination. It requires understanding that another person's mind is different from your own. No other animal on Earth can do this the way humans can. So somewhere, tens of thousands of years ago, our ancestors crossed this same threshold for the first time. And when they did, everything changed. This is the story of why humans started lying, and why some scientists believe deception may be one of the reasons we survived at all. To answer that, we have to go back further than most people expect. Not to ancient Egypt, not to Rome, but to a time before written history existed at all. A time when the only proof we have comes from bones, tools, and the shape of a skull. Around 300,000 years ago, early Homo sapiens were living in small, scattered groups across Africa. Survival depended entirely on cooperation, sharing food, warning each other about predators, trusting your neighbor with your life while you slept. In a world like that, honesty wasn't just a moral idea, it was survival infrastructure. So how did lying ever enter a system built entirely on trust? Anthropologists believe the answer lies in something even more basic than language. Deception already existed in nature. Long before humans arrived, chimpanzees fake injuries to avoid punishment. Cuttlefish change color to trick prey. Certain birds fake alarm calls to steal food while others flee in panic. Deception, it turns out, is ancient. It didn't start with humans. It started with survival itself. But what happened next was different from anything seen before in the animal kingdom. Because once early humans developed complex language, somewhere between 100,000 and 50,000 years ago, deception stopped being just a physical trick. It became a sentence. And a sentence can lie about anything. The past, the future, things that were never even seen. This is where researchers believe the real transformation began. Not just the ability to deceive, but the ability to imagine something that never happened and describe it as if it did. Scientists call this theory of mind. The ability to understand that another person has thoughts different from your own. And once a human understood that another mind could be shaped, changed, or misled, lying became possible in a way no animal had ever achieved before. But here's the question that still puzzles researchers today. If lying could destroy trust, the very thing early humans depended on to survive, why didn't evolution eliminate it? The answer is more unsettling than most people expect. Because in small hunter-gatherer groups, a well-placed lie could mean the difference between eating and starving. Claiming credit for a kill you didn't make, hiding a resource from a rival, exaggerating a threat to gain protection. In some cases, lying wasn't a betrayal of the group, it was a strategy for personal survival within it. And once one person tried it and succeeded, others noticed. This is where anthropologists introduce a term that changes the entire story: the Machiavellian intelligence hypothesis. The theory suggests that much of human intelligence, our massive brains, our social reasoning, our ability to plan and manipulate, didn't evolve just to solve problems in nature. It evolved to outsmart each other, to lie better, to detect lies faster, to manipulate alliances, to protect reputation. In other words, the very same social pressure that pushed humans to cooperate may have also pushed us to deceive. But if that's true, it raises an even stranger question. If lying was so useful, why do humans still despise liars so deeply today? The answer may lie in something archaeologists discovered while studying early symbolic behavior. Evidence found not in words, but in objects. Around 100,000 years ago, humans in South Africa began engraving patterns into ochre stones. Around the same period, humans started wearing shell beads, arranging burials with intention, and creating symbols that had no practical survival use at all. These weren't just decorations. Many researchers believe they were early forms of communication, symbols meant to represent status, identity, or belonging. And once symbols could represent something that wasn't physically present, they could also misrepresent it. A necklace could suggest wealth a person didn't have. A marking could imply status a person didn't earn. This is the moment many anthropologists believe lying evolved beyond simple survival into something more complex: social lying. Lying to gain reputation, status, or influence within a group. But if lying became a tool for power, it also became a threat to the entire tribe, because a group cannot function if no one can trust anyone. So evolution didn't just create liars, it created lie detectors. Humans developed sharp intuition for tone of voice, facial microexpressions, inconsistencies in stories, an internal alarm system built specifically to catch deception before it caused harm. This created something researchers now call an evolutionary arms race. As lying became more sophisticated, so did the ability to detect it, each side pushing the other to become smarter. And according to many scientists, this back and forth may be one of the very forces that shaped the size and complexity of the human brain. Not war, not hunting, not even language itself, but something far more personal, our need to understand and outmaneuver each other's minds. Now here is where the story reaches its most important turn, because lying, despite the danger, did something extraordinary for our species. It required humans to imagine alternate realities, situations that didn't exist yet, outcomes that hadn't happened. And that same imaginative skill, the ability to construct something false, is the exact same skill required to imagine something new, to picture a tool before it's built, a plan before it's executed, a story before it's told, a future before it arrives. Some researchers argue this connection is not a coincidence. The same cognitive ability that allowed early humans to lie may also be the foundation of human imagination, storytelling, art, mythology, and eventually civilization itself. In other words, the very trait we consider one of humanity's greatest flaws may have also unlocked one of its greatest strengths. Lying and imagination may share the same evolutionary root, but it's important to be honest about the limits of what we know. We don't have a recording of the first lie. We don't know who said it, or when, or why. Everything we understand comes from indirect evidence, animal behavior, brain science, ancient artifacts, and careful reconstruction of early human society. Some of this is strongly supported by research, some of it remains theory, still debated by scientists today. What we do know for certain is this: deception is ancient. Human cognition is deeply tied to social strategy. And somewhere in that tangled evolutionary history, lying became not just possible, but useful enough to survive. So maybe the real question isn't why ancient humans started lying. Maybe the real question is this: if lying helped shape human intelligence, imagination, and society itself, what does that say about the world we've built ever since? Because every story ever told, every myth, every promise, every piece of fiction, all of it may trace back to that same ancient spark. The moment a human first imagined something that wasn't real and dared to say it out loud.